Every day, radioactive materials are transported safely around the country by road and rail. There can be many reasons for this, and the material comes from many sources, from industrial processes, from medical facilities, and from electricity generation, to name three. The movement of this material is covered by numerous national and international laws and regulations, all designed to ensure safety is kept at the forefront of the process and any risks to the public are minimised. These regulations demand that every company that moves radioactive materials within the UK must have robust, tried and tested emergency plans in place to deal with the consequences of any incident that may happen while radioactive materials are being transported. The regulations ensure the operators are able to provide the emergency services with specialist radiation protection advice at the scene of any incident that might happen during the transportation of radioactive material on the roads or rail network in Great Britain. To ensure that these legislative requirements are fully met, many of the major organisations in the British nuclear industry, together with defence organisations and manufacturers of material for use in research and the medical sectors, have joined to set up RadSafe, a company limited by guarantee. RadSafe provides experts to give specialist radiation protection advice to the emergency services in the event of an incident involving the transport of a package belonging to one of its members. This does mean that not all movements of radioactive materials are covered by RadSafe. Other organisations currently engaged in the movement of these materials are responsible for discharging their emergency support responsibilities. In the unlikely event of an accident that involves the transportation of radioactive material, RadSafe's primary role is to work with the emergency services at the scene, providing advice on risk and remedial action that's needed to make the area safe. It is not the responsibility of RadSafe to manage the clean-up after any incident. This remains firmly with the owner or consignor of the material. In the event of an incident happening that involves a RadSafe member, the company's response is initiated via a special number 0800 834 153. That's 0800 834 153. All vehicles owned by RadSafe member companies carry this number on documents held by the driver or on the vehicles themselves. It can be called by the driver himself, members of the public, or by the emergency services. The number goes through to a RadSafe call centre based at the National Chemical Emergency Centre, NCEC, which is based in Oxfordshire.
Hello, RadSafe emergency line.
A call to this line triggers a practiced response. The operator will gather all the relevant information before informing the emergency services.
Okay, certainly. So I can just take some details of the call. Before we do that, can I just ensure that you move 45 metres away from the incident upwind, please?
Once that's been done, the operator will contact the nearest RadSafe company to request the support of a trained radiation specialist at the scene of the incident.
Hello, my name is Larissa. I'm calling from the RadSafe emergency line. Can I speak to the control room supervisor, please?
These specialists are known as RadSafe responders. Finally, the operator will contact the consignor of the package using the information found on the vehicle or in the documentation carried by the driver. At the same time, the operator will be able to provide the emergency services with some basic precautionary advice on dealing with a radiological incident. Once they've been called to the scene of an incident, the RadSafe company will normally set up an emergency control centre to support its responders and to act as a focal point for communications. If necessary, it will be able to request the provision of additional equipment and resources to help the RadSafe responders. RadSafe companies will endeavour to have their responders en route to the scene of an incident within an hour of the call for assistance being received. While they are on the way, the responders will be very active in getting all the arrangements to protect the public in place. At any emergency scene, there are likely to be a number of organisations at work. The police will have overall management of the incident, along with the responsibility for investigating any crime at the incident. They will coordinate any media response and the resources of the other emergency services.
Working with the experts from the facility.
The Fire and Rescue Service will have responsibility for the inner cordon or hot zone. They will deal with any fires, protecting life and property in the area, and will organise the rescue and protection of people from serious harm. The ambulance service will deal with any casualties at the scene before they are transported to hospital. If required, specialist ambulance service teams known as Hazardous Area Response Teams, or in Scotland, Special Operations Response Teams, will be present. These teams are able to enter the inner cordon to assist the Fire and Rescue Service in treatment of casualties within these areas. If the incident happens on a public highway, the Highways Agency will assist the police in their coordination role, managing traffic and reopening roads as soon as the incident response is complete. Any incidents on the rail network will see the dispatch of a rail incident officer to the scene. This person has overall on-site command and control of all rail-related organisations and their support at an accident or incident involving train operations. Depending on the extent and duration of the incident, representatives from the local authority and the appropriate environment agency may also be present at the scene. Once at the scene, the RadSafe responders will meet with the incident commander and other key personnel involved in the management of the incident to explain their role and to offer support. The responder will wear a specially branded tabard so they can be easily identified. Once briefed by the incident commander, the responders will then carry out an initial assessment of the scene. In liaison with the emergency services, they will develop a plan to make the area radiologically safe. They'll start the process of precautionary monitoring to ensure the safety of the public is maintained. They'll do this by making sure that the protective cordons that have been set up are sufficient. They will liaise directly with the incident commander and, if required, with the Fire and Rescue Service officer with specialist knowledge of hazardous materials. All activities undertaken by RadSafe responders will be agreed with the incident commander. Once the briefings are complete and the initial assessments have been carried out, the responder will formulate a plan that may involve confirmation that any cordons established are adequate and ensuring that emergency service responders are upwind, uphill and upstream of any incident. Advising on the use of personal protective equipment by the emergency services. Reassurance monitoring of individuals involved in or responding to the incident. Deployment of staff taking radiation and contamination measurements and air samples for radiological assessment. Once the plan is agreed between all the responding agencies, the RadSafe responders will keep an accurate log of decisions and actions. If possible, they will take photographs to support these log entries to aid in the production of an incident report. All RadSafe responders carry with them a book of RadSafe personal monitoring forms and a book of RadSafe radiation and contamination monitoring forms to keep a record of any monitoring carried out at the incident. Each of these forms has sufficient numbers of carbon copies to be provided to the other parties involved. Throughout the incident response phase, the RadSafe responders will be in constant contact with their own organisation, the CNC, and the consignor to keep them updated on the current status of the incident and the response. They will remain at the incident scene until the owner or consignor of the packages has arrived to take over the role of providing advice to the emergency services and cleaning up the incident scene. Once they arrive, the RadSafe responders and the owner or consignor will undertake a formal handover process. Once this has been concluded, the RadSafe response at the scene is complete. Since its creation, there have been very few RadSafe incidents. These 3 examples give an idea of the kind of incidents reported. In January 2014, an articulated lorry crashed into a field near Wooler in Northumbria and rolled on its side. The lorry was carrying 70 drums of low-level waste from the oil industry. A lid on one drum partially opened, but none of the contents escaped. The driver wasn't injured and initiated the RadSafe response, even though the consigning company was not a member of RadSafe. The response was given in the public interest and there were consequences for the consigner. Responders from Hartlepool Power Station attended the scene to give advice to the emergency services. On the 25th of October 2006, health physicists from Hartlepool Power Station responded to a RadSafe incident at Sunderland Railway Station to advise emergency services and monitor 2 fuel flasks that left Hartlepool earlier that day. The train had broken down at the station with a seized brake. Sunderland Railway Station was evacuated due to smoke from the seized brake setting off the station's smoke alarms. At no time was any member of the public at risk. The train was repaired and continued to its destination. In March 2015, a vehicle carrying medical sources crashed into a roundabout near Thetford in Norfolk. The driver was uninjured and the packages were confirmed as undamaged following a response from Sizewell A Power Station. To make sure that its processes and plans are in a constant state of readiness, RadSafe undertakes an extensive programme of exercises to test and demonstrate its preparedness for an incident. In agreement with the regulator, RadSafe organisations must hold a major multi-agency exercise and 3 minor exercises every year. In addition, member organisations which have not held an exercise during the year are required to conduct a self-assessment review of its response arrangements under RadSafe. Along with the learnings from real incidents, these exercises ensure that the plans are kept up to date. The areas for improvement identified for RadSafe from these exercises and self-assessment reviews are summarised in an annual report. To help with the exercise programme, RadSafe provides its members with guidance on how to run a successful exercise. This document, along with many others, can be found in the RadSafe Resource Library. RadSafe maintains this library of documentation to support its training, exercising and response activities, and each member organisation holds a copy of the library for use internally. Some of the documentation is also made publicly available. For more information about RadSafe, its documentation and guidance, details of training courses, and details of how to contact RadSafe, please visit www.radsafe.org.uk.